everyone.
Cheers.
Here we are, episode 37 of So This Happened.
Yes.
And we are here today with Tracy Hoover of Groover Labs. So excited to have you with us.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I think it's going to be an excellent show. I can't wait to learn more about the inner workings of Groover Labs. It's such a prolific space in our community, so it's going to be really cool to actually dive in. I know that I've been part of some events here in the past, but that was years ago, so I'm just so excited to hear more about it. So today we're going to go over Tracy's big move from big tech to startup life into building something amazing in Wichita, what Groover Labs actually is and who it's for, how the startup how the ecosystem is growing in Kansas, which is very exciting. The Excel Kansas program and how founders are getting support. And then, of course, why community might be the secret ingredient to innovation. But before we get into all of that, we have to play our little game of this or that.
Oh, right into it. Okay.
Straight
right
into
on
this or that.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the way this goes, since we're talking about big ideas and entrepreneurship today, I thought we'd do a little startup theme round of this or that.
Why not?
So what we'll do is we'll start with you, Tracy, and I have a prompt. I'll say this thing or that thing. And then you'll go, Rachel go.
It's like
then I
truth or
go.
dare.
No.
I feel like sometimes it feels like that. So.
With Jen and I do it more like a competition.
Yeah.
And so we try to guess. Like I put what I would answer, and I put whatever I think she would answer.
Oh,
And so I try to guess hers too. But with guests, it's more of just a talking point and a starting for all of the thoughts we have about certain things. So.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So we'll just dive right on into this.
Do it. What do you got?
Big idea or perfect execution?
Oh, big idea.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as perfect.
No
execution.
hesitation.
Perfect is the enemy of the good. I have no problem answering that question.
Yeah, I love it.
just like our line, messy is my polish.
That's right. That's
one
exactly
of our
right.
One of our merch lines that we have.
Yeah. No. Perfection's a fairy tale.
Yeah, I love that. No hesitation whatsoever.
Yeah.
Okay. Give me the options again.
So we have big idea or perfect execution.
Okay. I mean, I have to agree with big idea because if you have a big idea, that means you usually have like the gall to have that idea and go for it. Mm-hmm. And with that, you're just going to do whatever it takes, whether it's messy and then polished or what.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just get something out there and and see if there's a market for it.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely on the big idea part because it's like we always say, perfection there's no such thing as that. And also, if it's going to be big, you have to kind of let it grow into itself and figure itself out. Like our podcast, which is definitely happening. I love that. Okay, I love this one. Coffee shop brainstorming or whiteboard war room?
Oh.
I think whiteboard. I need a whiteboard.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Get all those ideas out there and just look at them.
Dude, I saw one today that is a giant A-frame, 6 feet tall, taller than me, and both sides so you could turn it. And it's huge. I saw the most whiteboards in one room I've ever seen in my life today. It was impressive. I love a good whiteboard.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of our conference rooms have whiteboards in them.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
That's where you're comfortable with those mostly.
Yeah. If you're trying to sketch something out.
Yeah.
Are you a color coordinator too?
No. I could just do a black marker and that would be fine.
Okay.
Simple.
Love it. For me, I feel like, at least for our podcast, our coffee shop sort of brainstormings, or whether it's kind of that same version, but in one of our living rooms, but we have more of an intimate setting. I feel like if you're with a big group of people, you need a whiteboard.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
You need a whiteboard. You need to be able to stand up and like talk about specific things and have that large spread. Yeah. But that also, even in our brainstorming, I'm a big note taker.
Yes.
I'm a sticky note taker.
Yes, you are.
Plus my lists. So, what's more relevant for me currently is coffee. Catch up some brainstorms probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I love a coffee shop brainstorm. I love a brainstorm though. I love it when ideas start getting flung and things turn into really fun ideas.
Yeah.
We're doing that right now with Digital Day for Digital Wichita. A lot of really fun ideas are getting flung out there, and
that's fun.
I'm so excited for this year's event, and so I love when that happens, and you can feel like when everyone's finally getting into that mode. I think it takes a little.
I think if there's more than 3 or 4 people in the group trying to work together, probably whiteboard, because you need like a bigger room. You need more.
Well, it might also depend on who you're with too.
That's
because
true.
I feel like in a more corporate setting, it's definitely going to be whiteboard.
Yeah,
for sure. And I can also see how the whiteboard, like seeing all the ideas in one spot, can help you pull things together that you may have forgotten about if you're just
put a big Venn diagram up there.
Yeah. Okay. So big risk, big reward, or slow, steady growth.
That's a tough one.
I've been part of both. Mm-hmm. The startup that we had in the Boston area was big risk, big reward.
Yeah.
But Groover has been more of a slow, steady growth. So can I both?
Yes. Finally, someone else with a both.
She's the both queen.
Yes, you can have
that.
both.
That's great.
No one else has ever said that, really. I mean, maybe not directly, but I'm always like, they go together. Oh, so my turn. Okay, I think slow and steady, because in my panic brain, when I hear risk, high reward, I think money, and I'm sorry, but I don't have the money to put down a big risk for the reward yet. And I'm not a gambler.
Yeah, right.
I never
Definitely,
have been.
money's generally involved if you're taking a big risk.
Yeah. So if it's just like, I might embarrass myself, I might not, then sure. But if it's money related, I'm like, one day I will. One day I'll be able to play like that.
I don't know, you could think of marriage as big risk.
I know.
Well,
it's
not
so
married.
True.
Never been.
Yeah.
So there you go. I guess slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah,
for me.
you're definitely. Yeah. I feel like it's kind of funny. I feel like I'm both in really weird ways. Like relationship wise, I'm very slow and steady.
Yeah.
In work or fun new ideas that I'm really excited about, it's big risk, big reward.
Yeah.
Even my 401k, I'm big risk, big reward.
Okay, I am in my 401k, but I trust my investors.
Exactly.
So, I love that you brought up the relationship aspect of it, because that's fair too. Like if it was anyone but Jen, I don't know that I would have taken the risk to start a podcast with someone, because I know with Jen, we have that relationship where you can trust that person enough to take that risk and put the time in and all that effort, and it's gonna be beautiful. Definitely reaping the rewards and getting to meet new people and new connections. So so I guess both. Can I change it?
You can change it. I'll let you change it.
Okay.
I'm not the boss. I'll concur. Whatever. All right. So okay, then. So the last one, I love this one. Midwest startup scene or coastal tech hub?
It's been more than 20 years since I've been on the East Coast as part of the startup ecosystem, but I definitely miss it. So, but here we planted our flag, and when we talked about doing Groover, we knew that the resources that we had at our disposal would not have made a dent in Boston because of the number of people and the wealth there, whereas in Wichita we could make a real impact. So I'm going to say both. But
I like you.
What do you miss though? Like I
grew up on the East Coast. I went to college on the East Coast, and it's the Boston, New York, Washington corridor. It's back in the olden days, you got the New York Times delivered on your doorstep, and the Wall Street Journal. Nobody does that anymore, but that's what happened back in the olden days. The proximity of the ocean.
Oh my gosh.
Even though I'm not a beach person, we never really were beach people.
Yeah.
It's the influence of the ocean on the weather.
Yes.
And then, when a nor'easter is coming in the wintertime, before it starts, everybody's gone to the grocery store and, strip the shelves.
Yes.
And then, but really before the wind starts to blow and the snow starts to come down, there's sort of a hush. And then, there's the conflagration of the storm, and then it finishes, and it's very quiet. And then you start to hear the of people digging, shoveling their
shovels.
sidewalks. And, I don't think I miss the aftermath of a big snowstorm or the prolonged aftermath of a big snowstorm, but I miss that. Just
nostalgia and sensation.
Yeah. We just hardly get any snow here.
Yeah,
so true.
So it's beautiful too, because with the ocean you get the full effect.
Right.
It's the full effect of
it's all that moisture that is causing all that
billowing
snow
in and everything. Yeah. I have only been to the East Coast once, and I loved it when I went to Salem, Massachusetts with my sister-in-law for a week, and I stayed in Revere, but traveled to Boston as well.
Revere?
Yeah, sorry. I stayed there, took the bus every day, but it was I loved it. Good weather, and
so beautiful.
I like the mixture of people too and cultures that's in the area. So I would like to go back sometime soon.
Yeah.
But that's really awesome to hear your experience with it too. I'd love to hear more too.
I know. I'm so excited to dive into a lot of your history.
Yeah.
Do you have okay, so the prompt is Midwest startup scene or coastal tech hub?
I've never really lived anywhere but the Midwest.
Yeah.
So as far as location and just traveling, I'd love to travel outside of the Midwest. But, because I love experiencing new places. But as far as if I were to invest in like a startup, I would want to be close to it. So I'd want to invest Midwest. But that won't stop me from traveling.
Yeah, it shouldn't.
If you want to take me to an investment party on the East Coast, I'll go.
Right, yeah.
Big startup party, hell yeah.
For me, I used to work for a startup out on the West Coast, which is funny, like Social Media Examiner, and they're
that's right.
Yeah, I worked for them for almost 5 years. And I was their social media manager and community manager for their conference, Social Media Marketing World, and of course the company Social Media Examiner. I don't know, like we've had a lot of really cool startups here in Wichita that also went out to the social media marketing world and got ideas and built community out there, and so I got to experience a little bit of that out there. But it was kind of cool because I was working here, but traveling there to work there. And watching all of these awesome startups in Wichita go get ideas from out there and bring them back and grow them into incredible communities here.
Yeah.
But not just Wichita community, global communities right here in Wichita, like Quick was one of them.
So back to your point, Wichita's the best place to potentially start it, because then you still can get the other experience and then come back. Maybe,
That's true. Or, go there and then gather, work in a tech industry, in the tech center for a while.
Yeah.
And bring that knowledge back.
Yes.
Because I find that, Wichita's good at a lot of things. Aviation, real estate, oil and gas, franchising, but the history of tech and tech investing is fairly shallow.
Yeah.
And I think, going somewhere else like Silicon Valley or Boston, where, or even Austin now, and getting some experience there, and then, coming back and.
Yeah, I've seen that with a lot of different business owners, and they're always traveling to meet with their friends to talk about this new tech, and then bringing it back here and seeing if it works in this area for their business. So that's a good point too.
So tell us about your background before Groover.
Well, so I was a software engineer back in the olden days before I had children, and so my husband and I worked in the tech industry in the Boston area in the 80s and the 90s.
Wow.
And so I worked for Hewlett Packard for several years. That was the last job I had before I became a full-time parent. And Kurt was a software and a hardware engineer. He was self-taught as a hardware engineer. And although he did have a background in electronics from when he was a middle schooler and high schooler. And we had a venture-backed startup called Amberwave Systems. And really, it was his. I paid the mortgage and the bills at home and supported, supported his efforts. But, it was really him and his partner. But it was to develop a low-cost Ethernet switch. And this This was in the mid-90s when the internet was just taking off. And back then, an Ethernet switch was the size of a refrigerator there. Ours is the size of a bread box. And then now, it's a sandwich box and you can buy it at Walmart.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
But, it was revolutionary at its time. And then so U.S. Robotics bought our company, and then 3Com bought U.S. Robotics, so we had a successful exit.
Nice.
And then, along in there, our first child was born, and then we had another one, as happens. But we took some of those funds and started a small private foundation called the Gridley Family Foundation. And so we've been doing traditional philanthropy all these years. We gave a lot of money to Wichita State. Kirk graduated from Wichita State, and various other, local and national charities. And then we moved here in 2005 to be closer to family, as one does.
So true.
Or as one does if, when you're from here. I mentioned earlier that I'm not. I grew up on the East Coast and went to college on the East Coast. But Kurt's folks lived in western Kansas, and then they moved to Wichita about a year after we did. But we thought we'd be here, a couple, 3 years. Our children were in first and third grade. And then Kurt's dad died very suddenly. And so, his mom was, left, she was here. And so we stayed sort of for her, and then suddenly the kids are in high school, and they both went to the IB program at East High. And, my older child, my son, had a really good experience, and I think my daughter struggled a little more, but I think, it was definitely a great experience for both of them. But they might tell different stories if you get them alone. But, you don't want to, once your kids start high school, if you don't have to move, you don't really want to move.
So true.
And then they both ended up at Northeastern University in Boston.
Oh my gosh.
They went back to
That's
your
so
roots.
They went home. And so anyway, suddenly the kids have gone off to college, as if it were a surprise. I didn't think it was coming. And then in the meantime, we moved downtown, so we live over in Old Town in a condo.
Fun.
It's really great. I love not having a yard to worry about. The Chung report had come out saying that Wichita had fallen behind other Midwestern cities on all these various economic measures. And we found out about this building being for sale, and Kurt decided he's really the one with the vision and the big ideas. I just make sure the kids are fed and clothed, and there's food in the refrigerator, and they get to school on time, and they get picked up on time, and payroll gets run here at Groover, and the electric bill gets paid, and all those things.
Well, hey, you can't have one without the other.
Right. And so he thought, we could establish a place where all elements of a thriving tech ecosystem could come together. Because, in Boston, Silicon Valley, you're standing in line at the coffee shop, and the people in front and behind you are starting a startup, they're working for a startup, they're exiting a startup, it's in the air and it's in the water. But as I was saying, in Wichita, we're good at a lot of things, but tech startups is not really, we don't have a deep experience.
There's definitely opening for that.
And so our foundation bought this building and paid for the renovation. It used to be printing ink, and so it was just a big mess.
Oh gosh.
I never saw it when the all the printing equipment was in here, but it was a big empty building. You had to wind your way through it, and there was electricity everywhere because all these big machines, needed all this electricity. And so we worked with Hutton Construction to design this space. And so, parts of the building are 100 years old, but the extremes of the building are from the 70s and 80s.
That's so cool.
So when did you open?
We opened, we had our grand opening in late January of 2020, which was right before the COVID shutdown.
Oh.
So, the timing was really impeccable. We had bought the building at the end of 2018 and did the renovation during 2019. And so, who would have thought? It was just like...
The people are going to need a place to work.
Well, right, because I mean, it was co-working and events and event space and conference rooms.
Yeah.
And then, one thing my husband is very passionate about is making things and solving engineering problems. And so a third of the building is a maker space.
Yeah,
And we had
love
originally
that.
thought it would be a place where people could come and go and make things. But then, COVID happened and, we couldn't get people to come out of their basements for love or money. And so where we ended up was, in the Maker Labs, our best efforts are spent helping companies do early stage product prototyping.
Okay.
So it's not come and go and make a coffee table. It's really focused on folks who are making products.
A specific product to take to. Okay.
Yes.
That's
So
great to know.
Did that answer the question?
Yeah, definitely.
So much so.
I mean, I think I morphed into some other things.
Yeah,
but-
yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, exactly.
We love that. No, I didn't even know that was a part of what you guys do here. So
Yeah.
when some people hear co-working space, they might just think it's open offices. So really, like, what other options or equipment do you offer to people here?
Well, so for co-working memberships, everything is month to month because people who are doing startups need flexibility. So
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
not, you don't have to sign a year's lease. It's month to month.
That's great.
And then we have a variety of levels. We have hot seats, which are the entry level, and you come in during regular business hours and take any open seat over here in the lobby. And then we have dedicated desks and offices and cubicles and studios, and all those include 24/7 access to the building. We have those people go through a light background check.
Sure.
Mainly, I don't want anybody to be a member of Groover who's committed a personal felony.
Yeah.
And so that's really all we're checking for. And then, and so we have small offices and large offices. Dedicated desks is a 30 by 60 desk, but it's your desk. Nobody else is going to sit there, and you can come in.
You can keep snacks there if you want.
Right. And there's like a little kitchenette in each section of the building. So
Oh,
if you
that's
want to
so
put your
lovely.
lunch in the refrigerator or keep, seltzer in the refrigerator.
Yeah, and there's a large kitchen
Right,
over
there's a large
here.
kitchen here in the lobby.
Yeah.
And then we have a high density of conference rooms because it's all about collaboration and working with people.
Yeah.
And so, pardon me, conference room access is included in your membership. We don't monitor the number of hours, and we have a little app that you can use to schedule the room. So, you don't have to come and talk to staff to book the time.
Wow.
How does that work? So if one person that is attending this conference, does each person have to have a membership or just one of them?
Well, so if you were a member and you wanted to have people in for a meeting, they're your guests.
Okay.
And so you're responsible for them until they walk out the door.
Okay. Perfect. That's such good information to know. Oh man. Yeah, I didn't know you had all those options, and walking in here and seeing all of the equipment and the lovely like kitchen area and such, like of course everybody just respects the space, and you can tell because it seems nice and comfortable and cozy. And
and the real object is to create a community here. We're all about a community because again, those startup things, are in the air and in the water in Boston and Silicon Valley, but here it takes being co-located and talking to each other.
And they might be in the minds of so many people or in the hands, but they don't have the community to, help push them to actually do it.
Right.
Whereas living on the coast, you are getting a whole bunch of different walks of life, cultures, and experiences and it's on the coast, so people are usually traveling from all other areas with different information. So,
And if you work in tech, you work with a lot of people who are also working in tech.
Yes.
I've worked in tech for a long time.
Yes.
And,
I don't do that, but I have a friend.
right.
Yes.
So that's kind of what we're trying to provide here
Yes.
also is,
I love
those
that.
kinds of connections as well.
Yeah, I love that. I always used to want to be an inventor when I was a child. I had a notebook of all of my ideas, right?
Oh, I love that.
Now that I've grown up, I found that notebook years ago
You
now,
did?
but they've all been taken now. They're all done. They've all been made, which
Well,
I guess means they weren't bad
They were
ideas.
great ideas.
They were-
That's exactly right.
So just knowing that this space is here for a lot of that, it's amazing.
So, what is a typical day kind of like here?
Well, so, you come in, you badge in, there's a little scanner on the front desk, and everybody has a barcode on their badge, and you come in and put your stuff down. If you have if you're going to sit in the hot seat, you take your jacket off and everything, and then you probably come and get a cup of coffee, and then you sit, you greet the other people who are over there, and then start working, but there's always a little chit chat over here, and people, there's been a lot of problem solving and brainstorming that's been gone on, especially recently.
Nice.
And then, you know, when I come in, I put my stuff down and then I bring my cup out and I get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
It's like a Pavlovian response.
Yes.
And we have our own blend of coffee from local roasters. And
yay.
I like it a lot. So, it's,
Yeah,
you know,
that is so
I have my
cool.
cup of tea at home and then I come in here and I need my Groover coffee.
Yeah.
I love that.
Is that the name of the blend? The Groover
I think it's Groover Labs or something.
That is so cool. I love them. They do that for so many people.
I love that
that's
too.
really cool.
Yeah.
Very local and awesome. I love that. So, what about folks that are like back with like their desks? Is it kind of like are they interworking and getting ideas from each other? And
yeah, that you know that people run into each other here at the coffee pot, or you know in the kitchenette, or you know the people who are sitting in dedicated desks are in an area they're kind of out in the open. I've heard it called the bullpen.
Okay.
And then there's offices and conference rooms around the perimeter, and you know you greet each other and chat and so you know it's about you know becoming part of the community and saying hello, and you just slowly get drawn in or quickly get drawn in depending on your personality.
Sure,
and then great things happen.
That's good.
Yeah.
I love that. Just being able to be around other people that are like-minded and having somewhat of a goal, even if it's not the same as yours, if they're working towards something and you know you can benefit each other, even if not, just knowing the people in your workspace.
Yeah.
And
Well, having your own like network.
Yeah.
Like in here, like that's cool, and like people with the same mindset all in one spot too. Like,
Yes.
Like you're talking about the whole ecosystem that you don't really get here in Wichita like you do on the east or west coast.
Right.
But having it right here in one building, it's got to be.
Right. If you're
pretty
doing a
fascinating.
tech-based startup in Wichita, you should be a groover. If you're
Yeah.
not already, you should be a groover.
Do
That's
it.
right. Do it.
Groovy, baby.
Yeah, groovy.
Groover, baby.
I love it. Stickers.
Yeah, t-shirts.
So, what's the coolest thing that someone has built here?
You know, there's been a whole bunch of things. There were some projects that we worked on early on. We worked with Greenfield Robotics out in Cheney because they're doing a robot that runs down a 30-inch crop row to cut weeds to try and eliminate spraying from broadacre agriculture.
I love that.
And so we worked with them pretty intensively for a couple, 3 years. And this company that I was mentioning earlier that did the vibrating eyelid cleaner, it's a device with an on-off switch, a rechargeable battery, a motor, and a sponge, and you put the secret sauce on the sponge, and then you turn it on and it vibrates.
I bet that would help so many people with styes and stuff like that.
Right. Apparently, you know, dry eye syndrome is an issue, and there's glands in the edge of the eyelid that get clogged, and then once they get clogged, they die, and then they don't come back.
I know someone who's dealt with that actually, and her eye doctor prescribed her heating pads for her eyes, like special little ones to heat up to help reopen those and keep them open.
Yeah, we worked with them to develop the beta version of that thing, and then we did some low numbers of assembly of their product, their final version of the product. You know, Kurt designed their circuit board that is in the product, and then more recently, you know, we've gotten a lot of great applications with the Excel Kansas grant, and you know so several of those were hardware-based programs, and one of them was a fellow who's a member who's doing a sensor that you can put on a wind turbine, and it can sense the vibrations, and the vibrations apparently change as the turbine has more hours on it and can indicate when the turbine is about to fail.
Oh, that's great.
So he's testing that.
That's really cool.
And I'm drawing a blank now.
That's a lot. Those are really great examples. That's super
and then,
cool.
You know, software-wise, we have a company that's developing an AI-based hiring software model to try. You know, you submit your resume, and then AI does something with it, and then you never hear from the company again. Yeah. But they've developed an AI-based program where it generates an AI avatar, or avatar is probably not the right word, but based on your resume, and then that AI avatar talks to the AI of the company and develops a relationship and try and get stories told.
I feel like I've heard of
It's
something
called Planetary Talent, and so I'm very excited about what they're doing.
That is amazing.
There's another company that got a grant that's helping you do inventory for, like hoarding situations or, estate planning situations or just insurance valuations using AI with, taking photographs and using AI to identify those things.
That would be
do
so
evaluation.
helpful.
Yeah. So, and there's a dozen more, and I probably offended somebody by not mentioning them. But
Oh my gosh, no. If you ever think of anything later, we can always put it in the show notes.
Yes.
But no, there's just so much going on here with so many different avenues you can take. That's one thing I love about tech that is cool is like how you said one thing you create for a certain purpose. Even if it ends up not working for that purpose, it very well might work for something else. So I think that's really neat.
Yeah.
And then just having the creativity and thought to even think to try it on that.
Right.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So let's talk about Excel Kansas.
Yeah, you mentioned
so
that.
What is it, first off?
Excel Kansas is a program that's run by the State Department of Commerce. In prior years, they were awarding $25,000 proof of concept grants to applicants, and they did that they evaluated applications on a quarterly basis. And evaluating tech ideas and then getting money out quickly is not something the state is really equipped to do well or quickly.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the most loving way, of course.
Yeah.
And so they decided, this really doesn't make sense for us to do this, and how can we push this down to entrepreneurial support organizations? And so they had an application process last spring. We applied because it was really squarely in our mission wheelhouse, but you thought, oh my God, this is going to be a huge amount of work. And is this something we want to take on? And I go, yes, we do. This is something we should do. And it's been twice as much work as we thought
As it is always,
right?
Isn't it?
But we were Groover and KU Innovation Park were the two awardees.
Wow.
And so the state awarded us $400,000 to then award do these proof of concept grants, and that they really said they didn't really say how to do it, so we had to figure out how we wanted to run an application process because we've never done that before, and so we thought we'd get 15 or 20 applications because the state hadn't gotten a huge volume of applications, but we beat the drum and put it in our newsletter, and we went out and talked to rural partners because they really wanted some of that money to go to rural communities, and we ended up with like 56 applications.
That's great.
Yeah, and so it was like, whoa. Okay, now how are we going to deal with this? But we wrangled a group of people to very talented and smart people in the community to help us evaluate those grants. So we ended up awarding 19, and then we had some rural grants, so some smaller organizations like Emporium Main Street awarded a couple grants, and then we just had another small round because we had some money left. And it's just been an amazing experience, and fortunately the Department of Commerce has been very happy with the work that we've done. And it wasn't just the money; it was we've got all these applicants, and we weren't going to be able to award money to all of them. So how can we help the rest of them who aren't getting money? And so we have developed a sort of a suite of wraparound services to help them. So they have access to programming with Nexus, and then the folks who were on our evaluation committee offered their services, like 1 hour consulting on various topics. Groover is incredibly fortunate. We have an amazing I have an amazing staff. And then I have an amazing team of volunteers as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
that just goes to show you how much it's needed here, and how much you probably inspired by that even being an option that they could apply for.
Right.
And then even still following it up with, hey, how else can we still support you?
Right.
Because we really do believe in you. We wish we could give you all the money.
Right.
Everybody. But that's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a pretty remarkable year.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So what kind of founders applied for those?
Well, so some of the ones that I talked about already, planetary talent, the jitterbug, the wind turbine vibration sensor.
What a fun name.
I love that. The folks who are doing the AI evaluation of possessions for estate and, insurance purposes. There's another fellow who's doing equipment monitoring, an equipment monitoring device for companies that have large pieces of equipment that, you don't want to have to run an electric line every time to the thing. He's doing that. Oh Lord. There's a company who's doing a platform to help trucking load. I'm gonna really mess this up.
Oh,
but,
that's okay.
So the trucking industry.
Okay.
It's very spread out.
Yeah.
And trucking brokers talk to people who ship things, and they talk to people who carry those things.
Yes.
And the people who carry those things are all a lot of independent.
A lot of logistics.
Yeah. So it's logistics companies, and each, there's like a whole bunch of different platforms or dashboards where you have to enter the data, and it takes a lot of time. And so he's trying to develop one platform where it all, you only need to enter the data once.
Wow.
So that's interesting.
I feel a lot of companies deal with that, where it's like and then everything gets outdated, and then some companies can't afford the more expensive ones, so they're using the other ones, but then they still have to enter it 4 different places.
Right.
So then one worker's doing something that, the 4 people should be doing, or just, it takes twice the time.
The trucking industry is just so interesting. It's something I never dealt with. UPS comes to my door and brings me the package. I don't take delivery of things that require that level of intervention.
Yeah.
And then suddenly we were getting things here at Groover that required that. And I'm talking to trucking brokers. And I'm like, in what planet did you think this was going to happen? And so it's just,
It's always, that's another thing about tech, which it's not the way my brain always works, but it's crazy how in depth it is.
Yeah.
Like all the little things that are so convenient to us took a lot behind the scenes to develop.
So true.
And so a lot of that happens here, and that's amazing. And I love that you're helping support that, and in Wichita, Kansas. So people, and help people that may not have the money to go to a place or go to a school where they can find people to be able to promote their ideas.
Right.
Yeah, they might be, multi-million-dollar ideas that could save the world in a way, or help them at least.
A multi-million-dollar idea is only as good as having a market.
Yeah.
And so I'm a firm believer in you need to identify a problem in a market that needs to be solved, because dreaming up the version of the better mousetrap, it's a lot of work to create a market and get people to buy it. So it's way better to identify a problem or a deficiency in a market that already exists.
That's what you did here.
Yeah.
So because we don't have
it continues. That's so cool. So what has surprised you the most during that review process, would you say?
Well, so the number of applications. Given the experience with the Department of Commerce and the number of applications, I was under the impression that they received. I thought, we'd get 15 or 20, and we got 56. And so there was that, and then there was just, this incredible enthusiasm and outpouring of support, and, but Groover has benefited a lot. We were very grateful to receive the grant, and most of it, we awarded, which is, writing a check to somebody, that's all with that. There's nothing the matter with that.
No.
And, it's, brought people into our orbit, into the building that we never would have met. So, it's just been rewarding for a lot of, a whole host of reasons.
Amazing.
I love that.
Yeah, that is, it's so exciting. It's so exciting right here in Wichita. It's amazing. So we had to talk about community. Because that's the reason we're here, right?
Yeah.
So why is physical community so important for founders?
Well, it gets real tiring being in your basement. Talking. The dog isn't going to answer you when you talk to it.
I understand. Quite the way we need them to.
Unless you develop the tech. No, I was thinking up.
You can't. it takes I'm a firm believer, it takes a village to do about anything.
Yeah.
You may have a genesis of a really great idea, but it takes a lot of, it takes feedback from other people to figure out how to make that a reality, or to figure out, should it go this way, or really we should be going over here, but there's a genesis, or a kernel of a great idea, but, what direction do we take that?
Yeah.
And again, in a place like Boston or Silicon Valley, there's a huge density of people who are working in tech or who have worked in tech, but in Wichita not so much. So being co-located with other people who are maybe not solving the same problems, but are thinking about the same maybe meta issues is huge, I think.
What about outside of tech for you, like on a personal level? Is there a way that you found community as like to just, I don't know, help us and our listeners get to know you a little more? I mean, it kind of combines.
Yeah, I have, in my other life, I have a community, which is totally separate from Groover. But, I was mentioning a little while ago, my husband, Kurt Ridley, and I founded Groover Labs.
Yeah.
It was a joint effort, a joint passion project. And Kurt died a couple of years ago after being diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And we all know that that's not good news.
No.
The diagnosis to his death was 5 or 6 weeks. So it was really awful. It's always going to be awful, and I'm never going to get over it. But you pull up your big girl pants every day, and my job is to make sure that Groover continues to succeed without him, because it was really his vision. And
I think you're succeeding.
Doing a great job.
And so, the team, we were a small team, and, the loss of Kurt, was deeply felt by everyone, but, all my people have really rallied around. We rallied around each other, but they really rallied around me.
That's good.
Yes.
And so, and not just the team, but, the community.
Yeah. Well, good.
So
I'm glad we could be introduced into it too. So I thank you again for having us.
So
thank you for
excited.
asking me.
Yeah, of course. Oh my gosh.
I think that makes it so much more passion and love behind it. That it's an actual passion that was created, and couldn't have done it without the community and without your partner.
Yeah.
And that's how I feel in a different way, but I always say it when anything like this comes up. Like my community, I wouldn't have without Jen and without a lot of the other lovely people around me. Like when I've gone through hard times or whatnot, it just always helps me like think of more ideas too. So like even the emotional support alone, just like having someone to talk about with things, just it gets my mind working and it gets different gears turning that were kind of slow, and then I hear something they say and I'm like, oh, and then you can bounce off of each other. So I think it's always good to have this space too. It's a clean, nice, airy space. You've got good lighting. You're not just like in the dark in your basement, like you said. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah. I just think it takes a community, it takes a village to solve about any, problems big and small. But, particularly big problems.
And to make a change or to create something.
Yeah.
Something amazing.
I love that.
I do too. So has there been like a moment or many moments where you've just like sat back inside and been like, this is the reason we built this?
Yeah, I think the Excel KS grant process was really rewarding in that way. But I was sitting out here last week talking to Parker, our community development manager, because he's away. It's spring break week, and so he's with his family doing something fun. And one of our members came out and said 1.1. And he had closed a deal, and he would not have. He's a very recently joined member.
Oh, wow!
And he was so excited, and there was a lot. I think there's been a lot of chit chat out here that I haven't been privy to, because I sit farther back in the building. But it was kind of a we're all rooting for him because he's doing really good work.
Yeah.
And suddenly he comes out and says, I did this thing.
Yay!
And so. There's that individual win, and then there's this, this big community-wide
That's the
win.
thing too, celebrating the wins.
Yes,
with
for
others
sure.
is so important.
Yeah.
Honestly, we sold our first merch not that long ago, and we were like,
big one, That's so exciting.
Then that's not 1.1.
Well, what excites you most about the future of Groover?
We've had some rough times between opening right before the COVID shutdown and obviously the loss of Kurt. But I feel like we've hit our stride, and we had a group meeting last week to sort of think about we have done well with the Excel KS grant. I feel like we've executed that very well.
Yes.
And now how can we top that is not the right thing to think, but what's the next?
Yeah.
We don't want to just rest on our laurels. So how, what's the next year bringing? What's the next 3 years?
Yeah.
More nebulously, what does 5 years look like?
Yeah.
And so, again, I have an amazing team around me, and I feel excited for the future of Groover.
That's good. I'm excited for you.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what comes next.
So then what kind of founders should be looking towards Groover Labs to join the excitement?
Give them a shout out.
Individual founders or small teams. We have varying office sizes. We have flexible, hot seats and desks. But talking to people, if you need help with something, or maybe you don't know you need help with something, but having that social conversation will spark ideas and help you take it to the next level, or solve a problem, or think of something you hadn't thought of. So it's the community. It's all about the community.
Yeah,
I love it.
It is. You mean that's why we started this?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think that's our favorite word, just community.
I know, we use it every episode. Community. We ought to make that our theme song. Just community sung in different tones.
Community.
Maybe not, Jen. But
Not that one.
close. No.
It's just not catchy enough. Well, it's been so much fun learning more about you, yourself, and of course Groover Labs. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for having me on your podcast.
It's been wonderful.
Thank you for welcoming us into this beautiful space and
I
opening
love
up
this
and
place.
sharing about everything that you've come from and made it happen. Is there anything else that you would like to share or mention before we close out?
Or where can people follow Groover?
Grooverlabs.org is our website. If you scroll to the bottom of any page, you can sign up for our newsletter, which comes every couple weeks. We don't sell your information to anybody else.
Okay, no spam. No spam.
Certainly not Groover originated spam. But the books that I'm sitting in front of are part of my husband's library.
Oh, that's
Very
so
extensive
special.
library, most of it technical nonfiction, and so we brought some of those things here, topics that were interesting to him and important to him, and I can't ever not give him a shout out.
Of course.
He was the most amazing person, and deeply flawed as we all are, but
We sure are.
a very
Yeah.
amazing person.
Guilty. I love that you put that extra touch. So thank you for sharing that too.
It makes this a little, a cozy area.
Yeah. We're right up
does.
against them. Yeah, well, thank you. So, we will put everything that you need to follow her and where you can join, and we'll put it all in the show notes.
Yeah. So we have a couple things coming up. We have a couple of solo episodes coming up, so you guys get to hang out with just us.
You get to see us battle on this and that, and probably another T Swifty
Of course.
segment.
Oh yeah.
So this hits different segment. I don't know what I'm assigned next.
It'd be great. Hey, y'all need to request something.
So give us a request.
Give us a request so Rachel has a song to go for.
Yeah, Opalite was my favorite so far. I think that one sold me. That's making me a little Swiftier.
Look at her go.
Other
Oh
than
my
that,
gosh.
I'm
So
still not
proud.
there yet. So give me some good ones.
Maybe next week when we go to the Heart Spring Gala, we can request some Taylor Swift.
Okay, maybe. So that's coming up, Heart Spring.
Yeah, so next week, March 28th, is the Heart Spring Gala. We will be there. We're going to be so excited. There's going to be apparently a lot going on. Neither of us have ever attended this, but I did tour Heart Spring today and got to know a little bit about their facility and what they have to offer. Got to hang out with their marketing team. Really, truly fascinating facility that they have out there. And they have a lot going on, and they're doing just like Groover.
They do amazing work.
They
went
truly
up there
do.
A couple, maybe 3 or 4 years ago now, but they do
Yeah.
amazing work.
They do incredible work, and that like they're growing and doing really exciting, like more and more exciting things for our community and the families here, and not even just here, around the nation. I know that they bring people in from all over the country to our facility here in Wichita, which is insane. That is so cool. They have apparently a lot of people from just specifically Illinois, which is really interesting to me. Yeah, I learned a lot today, so I'm excited to talk a little bit more about that on next week's episode as we get a little closer to the gala. So, but yeah, the next 2 episodes is going to be just the 2 of us back in the hot seats again. So, but today has been wonderful. Thank you so much. So this happened.
Cheers.
Cheers.